2, here we go, go.
What's up guys, Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. We're focusing on Datsuns today. Specifically, we are at Z Car Garage. This is my buddy Rob, and he builds some of the best Zs in the world. This one is interesting in that there's so many different ways to build a Z, right?
Absolutely.
But this one is, as you mentioned before we started rolling, it's kind of more the obtainable way to modernize these cars.
Well, sure. I mean, we all know that 240Zs, 510s, and the Roadsters, they're all disappearing. But there's a lot of 280Zs left out there for a fair price. And so Trevor's car here is a perfect example of making a 280Z canvas your own and taking a car that you can actually still buy, still afford, and then have money left over to do things to it. And that's why I really like the 280Zs. They are definitely the most obtainable Datsun right now.
So body-wise, the 240 and the 280, once you change out the front and rear bumpers,
Correct.
It's pretty much the same thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, definitely the 280Z holds more weight, right? There's more things in it than a 240Z, but it's not outlandish, it's not crazy. And again, it still has that shape that we all fell in love with, right? And again, Trevor's done the bumpers, right? He's done the rear spoiler, and he's kind of already taken it away from regular 280Z to what he wants it to be.
And also another thing is the 260Z,
Yes.
same body, same thing,
Correct.
but
Smaller bumpers than the 280, right? 280 is when it goes to the big fat accordion style bumpers, right? Where they had to have 5-mile-an-hour bumpers.
and the 280Zs started coming with electronic fuel injection.
That is correct, 1975, absolutely. And that's another thing, it's a very friendly vintage car to own. As long as everything is in good working order, you could daily drive a 280Z, no problem.
Okay, because we know not only are the 240Zs disappearing, the problem is they're just so expensive now.
It's really crazy. People have discovered what we've known for a long time, which is Datsuns are the jam. They're fantastic vintage sports cars, and you're right. Like, it's just, I own a Datsun shop, and someday I'm going to be priced out of my own marketplace, right? And that's a bummer. And that's what's so cool about the 280Zs.
Yeah, because if you don't really care, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's really no difference. It looks great. It performs amazing, as we will see today.
Sure. It's just heavier, right? But it's not like crazy heavy. This car with Trevor's weight in it is still under 3,000 pounds. It's just at about 2,900 pounds, where obviously your car is a lot less than that, being a 240Z, but you'll see today that this car's still a performer.
Where is the weight added to this?
Well, absolutely. Just, again, all the structure points on the inside of the car. There's more dash, electronics, there's more everything, right? Fuel injection. I mean, all those things add up over the course. And then the chassis is a little bit beefier than the 240Z chassis.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, in a way, this potentially could even be better than the 240Z, a more modern, or once you update it, it's going to just be a more modern version of the 240Z.
That's how I feel about it. I mean, I think they're great. And again, that's the thing, is that what makes Datsun guys is that we're resourceful. And so if there are no 240Zs in our price range, well, let's get the next best thing.
Yeah, because gone are the days where you can buy a 240Z for $3,000, which is exactly how much I bought mine for.
Sure.
You know, and
Those
I know.
days are gone.
And for you, I'm sure you've had ones for free.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've had ones for $500.
Yeah, I know Butters, I think, was like in the $3,000 range, right? I mean, not running, right? But that's just the thing. It's like the Datsun 510 behind you, right? I bought that for $800. Those days are over.
So. That one right there.
But again, too, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's take cost out of the window, take everything out of the window. It's just the amount of marketplace of 240Zs to choose from is less and less and less. And the 280Zs, they're still cars. Like this car here is just a car that was sitting around in somebody's garage for years and years and years, and now it's going to get new life, right? It's going to get new love, right? And this car isn't an expensive car, right?
This one is a almost stock version.
It is. All that's different on this car is it has panel sports on it. This car is completely stock 280Z. And it's kind of cool that it's here because you can now look here at camera-wise and see, okay, that's how this car starts, and this is Trevor's take on it.
Because it comes with these whatever accordion 5-mile-per-hour bumpers.
Absolutely, big bad mothers.
Kind of like what were on the Porsches.
That's correct.
Of
Any
the
car
era.
of that era.
Yeah. Because they couldn't. It was still a lot of metal, not as much plastic.
Sure.
And they had the 240, but they wanted to update it for regulation. So all they did was just add this instead of actually changing the car.
Correct. I mean, again, there's a ton of differences, and I'm sure in the comments section we'll have lots of input, right? But it's just, that's the thing. It's like the 280Z can be a great canvas for building your cool Datsun.
And on top of that, the hood is different a little bit,
Yep.
just because it has these vents.
That is correct.
What else? I'm just looking at it.
No,
I'll be
I
honest, I don't know too much about the 280s because I never really looked into them.
Sure. Well, and again, look, I mean, the taillight panel is obviously different, right? This finisher piece, the big bumper in the back. But essentially, right, let's go back to Trevor's car. It's like, if you saw this, you know, if you're a Datsun guy, you know right away that's a 280Z. You know right away the taillight panel. But, right, somebody else is just like, wow, look at that bitchin' Z car.
Yeah. I mean, from the outside, aesthetically speaking, he's done things to modernize it, right?
Correct.
So it's like the BRE style.
Correct.
Ducktail.
Yep.
You have
Carbon fiber.
fiber 240Z,
Yep, 240Z style, absolutely.
which I think it updates it quite a bit.
Definitely.
The front, you gotta love the headlight covers.
Correct.
And so, what kind of valance is this, or what?
You know, I think that's the Motorsport Valance, and I think he has the Skillard piece down below on it. And Skillard is an aftermarket company, makes a lot of really cool things for Datsuns.
This looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I love that it matches the line. It follows the line all the way from the hood down to the carbon fiber bumper down to here.
Yeah, and the bumper piece, it looks great. Yeah, and again, I like it, and that's exactly why I wanted to talk about this car because, you know, Trevor is a guy, doesn't live near us. He lives in Nevada and dropped his car off to get some Z-Car Garage love.
Mirrors are cool too.
Absolutely.
Just kind of an updated look versus those stock,
mirror?
yeah, the
Yeah, exactly.
factory ones
Yep.
are a little. It takes some to like them,
Sure.
to
No question.
enjoy them,
Right.
right? And I think this really updates that.
Agreed.
So, what about? Tell me about the wheels, tires, brake
So this
package.
is kind of our standard issue. We put this on pretty much all of the cars that we build here. This is a 16x7 Panasport, and we are able with this offset to run a 225 50/16 tire all the way around. All of the 90s supercars ran 225 50/16s. And when I say all, I mean there's a lot of cars a long time ago that ran that tire size, which means there's all kinds of sticky tires left in that size, and that's why it's our go-to. And so this right now, we're using the RE71R because again, Trevor's going to use this car as his release car. His, hey, I had a long week at work. I'm going to get in my Z car and get after it. So he has our Z-Car Garage brakes, he has our CV axles, and then, really exciting, you just drove it in Butters, the CD009 conversion using the 6-speed from the 350Z. Game changer.
Let's talk about that when we look at the interior.
You got it.
But can we check out the motor?
Yeah, and again, there's nothing crazy here. He's done an aftermarket fuel rail, and he's put an adjustable fuel pressure regulator on it, and then we did the header with the transmission conversion. And again, all 280Z stuff. It's got a Koyo radiator. He's done his own little cold air intake setup.
This is 100% street legal. Everything is, I guess.
Other than for California, right, we have to have EGR, and since he lives in Nevada, he doesn't, and so we deleted the EGR system. But other than that, if he moved back to California or moved here, we could very easily make this car smog compliant.
And then it's still running the factory ECU then?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Again, wait till you see how nice this car drives, and the fact that you don't have to be a, you know, full-blown vintage car person to have a 280Z and enjoy it.
So it's interesting because most of these people will carburate it, take all the electronics out, and then essentially, I guess, make it a 240Z. But he decided to kind of keep all of this the way it is. I'm sure it runs amazing.
It does. It runs really, really well. And that was one of the things, it's funny is Trevor's story is he wanted a 240Z and then realized he wasn't going to be able to afford to get the one he wanted. So he started looking for 280Zs. And he found this nice car in Phoenix. It had 94,000 miles on it. And he got a bunch of paperwork with it. Because, again, right, whoever owned this car loved it. And so there's even the window sticker, all the service records. And it was funny is that this car was actually purchased in his hometown in Nevada.
Oh, wow.
So it's just kind of cool how Datsuns go full circle.
Let's talk about the interior.
You got it.
Whoa, this...
Yeah, nice car. And so he had to do the dash. And so he did the dash in it. And then it's got speed hut gauges. And then we used his original shift knob. And obviously it's got a 6-speed in it now. But it looks factory, which is really cool.
Yeah, the 280Z has a much bigger opening here.
It does.
It looks pretty similar.
Absolutely.
But there's just certain little things that make it different.
Absolutely.
There's like a stabilizer bar back here.
It's got the Nardi.
Yeah, it has a
got the
nice steering
Nardi.
wheel.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tell me about the transmission. So this is kind of an interesting thing that I never realized existed. So you've been doing this swap for a while now.
Yeah, Austin Hoke from Hoke Performance, this is all his idea and his engineering. And we crossed paths with each other when I did a V8 Z-car conversion and he made a V8 conversion for Z-cars. We did one in a 280. And so we were talking about the CD009. He's like, well, I've put all this stuff together and I've sold some. It's like, cool, well, I want to check one out. And he's like, well, no one's got one together. And I was like, well, send me one. And then that's, we put it into James Stevens' car. We put in a couple of cars. And so then finally, his life kind of took off. He's a family man and he has a full-time engineering gig. And I said, well, I'd love to take over the Hoke Performance 6-speed conversion. And so we did. And so I purchased a run of them and I've installed all of them into cars. So it works really, really well. And as you'll see today when we drive around, it is a game changer.
Because the thing is, the transmission, I thought that this transmission came originally from the 350Z, right?
It does, yes. So this six-speed comes from a 350Z, right? Is Nissan's part number for it is CD009. Yeah. And that's why we called it that swap, right?
And then you can use a used one from a
sure
junkyard.
You sure could.
But the cool thing is you can buy it directly from Nissan for this duty.
That's what we do just for the simple fact is we want to start with something new. We don't want to, the amount of money and effort it takes to do this, you want to do it once and do it right. And the cool thing about putting this gearbox behind anything is that it'll take it. You drove in James's car, 560 wheel horsepower and the transmission's like, this ain't no thing. Right, Butter's like 275 horsepower, ain't nothing but a thing. And that's what's so cool is that you're going to do it once, it's going to work really well for you, and then you're done with transmissions.
Well, there's just nothing better than a modern manual transmission.
No question.
Because the transmission that came with this car
is 40 years old.
Same thing with Butter's.
Exactly. It wasn't made for the kind of things that we're doing with it, right? And then you break it. Who's going to rebuild it? There's only a few people left that can do it. And where are you getting parts? And that's the thing. That's why we do our brake kit.
On top of that, the visceral feeling of shifting.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't grind.
Yeah.
There's just so many things about it. And also the clutch, I'm sure all of that, it just
wonderful
changes the way the car drives.
Definitely.
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. And then because you know all the gears, now you can pick whatever rear differential you want to do so that you have a full combo, right? Like Butters is set up to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour as quickly as she wants, but it's not meant to go 150 miles an hour because I don't want to go 150 miles an hour in my Z car. I want to get that rush, that feeling. I want to put together corners and always be in the power band. And what's so exciting about this and the 280 is that the 280Z engines don't rev as high as the 240Z modified engines. So it's just this big multiplication of torque. Like this thing's just a stump puller. It just goes and goes and goes and keeps asking for more.
Can we take a look at Butters and maybe there's updated things?
Yeah, there sure is. Yeah, Butters is always in a state of renewal.
So the story is that I came here to Z Car Garage over a year ago, and then within moments, you handed me the keys to Butters, and I was driving this really hot rodded, hopped up 240Z, and it was this is your demo car. Like,
Yeah.
this is the one that you kind of sell your services, I guess.
Sure. And again, always testing, right? The biggest thing about Z Car Garage is anything that we say works must work. And that's the thing. It's like when we did our brake testing, right? The brakes were on this car for a good 6 months before I ever even thought about offering it to anyone else. And so we had done a few of the 6-speed conversions, and there were some things about it where I was like, maybe we should do this or do that. And I was like, honestly, I really need to drive one every day so I can pick up on those little things that I might not love about it. And that's exactly why we put the 6-speed into Butters.
Can we take a look at it?
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. I did have a chance to drive this around a little bit, and first gear is so short on this. It's like it's almost just a gear to get you moving.
Yeah.
And then second gear is when it really starts singing, this car. Do you have to do anything to modify it so it sits properly?
You have to cut, especially in a Series 1 car, you have to cut the cross member, or I guess you have to cut off some of the cross member pieces and move things around. There's definitely some things that you're going to have to do to the body to get this transmission in there, but worth it. I mean, if you're a purist and you don't want to touch your car, then you probably don't want a 6-speed anyway. But if you're looking to get, the best combination of, driving and feel of the transmission and all those other things, the 6-speed is a great swap.
Plus, there's nothing worse than if you're in the 4-speed and you're trying to keep up with normal flow of traffic nowadays.
Sure.
Oh my God, you're going to be at like 5,000 RPM.
No,
right?
no, agreed. Yeah, and again, this car is, you said I gear my cars pretty short because we're trying to kind of get them to move out pretty quickly. But the great thing about knowing all of your gear ratios, you can pick whatever rear end you want. This car has an R180 411 with an OS Geekin limited slip, same as Trevor's car.
So then in 6th gear on the freeway cruising, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's certainly not at 2,500. So it still buzzes, but we can go for a buzz in this really quickly today, and you can see the difference. Same thing with Trevor's car, and again, I like it enough to where every one of the ones. I think we have about 8 cars so far with the 6-speed swap, and it works really well. We're digging it. It's a really, really nice backup for bitchin' engines. Like you said, right? You're using a 70s or 80s gearbox, and the stock is like, help, help, and this one is just like, come on, what? 5th? All right, 6th, let's grab it, go.
Yeah, that's one of the things I first noticed when I got in here. I couldn't believe how short the throw was.
Sure.
From one, all the way through the gears.
Right, yeah. Sure. Yeah, super. Again, it's really hard to put it into words, and that's exactly why Butters is here, right? I think I could tell you all day, like, hey, this 6-speed conversion is bitchin', and man, our brakes are like nothing else. But when you drive it, that's when you understand.
All right.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
280Z
1978.
CD009 transmission.
Cool.
Can't follow those directions.
You cannot.
Yeah.
78, and then it's got our definite transmission, and then a 2.8 engine.
What makes it your diff? Is it a limited slip?
Yeah, we use the OS Geekin units in R180s, and then we do all the bearings and seals. We build them all in-house. Joshua does them all, and we just pick different gear ratios for different customers, and so that's why we call it our diff.
And the axles?
Yeah, so our CV axle conversion, 100% bolt-in, works really, really well. Smooth driving in the back. You don't get any vibration. You can deliver whatever horsepower and torque you'd like.
Is it like off of a 911, or what is it? I mean, what did you have to adapt it from something?
Yeah, they're German CVs, but they're all designed by the gentleman that helps us, the CAD models and prototypes. He helped us design the whole piece, and so all the components are machined by him and bolt in directly.
So essentially, along with the brakes, you guys are legitimately fixing everything that's wrong with these cars. I wouldn't say wrong.
I wouldn't say wrong, just updates.
Yeah, they just need to be updated for the modern world, for the modern traffic, highways.
Absolutely.
I mean, just less vibration and also the longevity.
Correct. And then again, like 2 big honking U-joints, well, that was cool 50 years ago. You know what I mean? But that's not today. Today is like, again, all the OE manufacturers use CVs, so are we.
Oh. Hey, this actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it has our exhaust system on it. Yeah. What's really cool though, it's a Z car.
Yeah. It sounds really good.
Thanks. It drives really nice too.
Yeah, it drives really nice.
Hey, I'm gonna go into 5th.
Oh.
Yeah, I bet you haven't done this in a 280 before. Man, I'm in 6th gear. I'm at 78 miles an hour at 3,500 RPM.
Oh, nice. It does have a shift light.
It sure does, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's got lots of torque. So we'll take a right and go on the 101 and do our little test loop.
That sound, as soon as you get on it, is really good. Oh man. You know, it's funny because when you were driving, I was thinking, man, this guy's crazy. But actually, it is pretty sorted.
It's very sorted.
It's really sorted.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go into 6 and then downshift into 4? Yeah, hit it.
God. Oh, the brakes are just so good. They're so incredible.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
It's funny that you just short shifted it because that's what's so much fun about the transmission is that the torque is just always there on demand. Hey, I recognize that body style ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Supra.
Hello, Supra.
They look great in yellow.
Not today. Not today, Toyota. Not today.
I definitely like that inline-6 sound. I think it sounds great. Oh, it's funny, the chick took a picture of us. It sounds really good, especially as soon as you get on it.
Yeah.
It just has that really strong inline-6 tone.
Like a Z.
It sounds really good.
Yeah, and again, nothing's fancy to this car, right? I mean, it's got some really nice adjustable control arms, but the springs and shocks, it's not even on coilovers. It just has a nice set of sway bars, like lowering springs and a nice shock. I mean, just great. And sometimes simple works really well in a Z car.
It's actually fun to short shift it.
It is, yeah. It's funny is I don't ever really wind butters out anymore because it's just always there. And you're moving so fast by the time you get it that there's no real reason to wring its neck.
Honestly, that's kind of the fun thing for me with these old cars.
Yeah.
When you're driving them not that fast, it still feels like you're on the edge.
Exactly, yeah. And I just love how, you know, this is the first time you're driving it and you're comfortable with the handling of it and the braking and the suspension.
Yeah, it feels really good. I can't believe it doesn't have coilovers. Well, thank you so much for letting me drive this.
Thank you, Trevor. Thanks for letting us check it out and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And thanks for letting us be a part of your story.
Well, Trevor, I hope you enjoy it as much as we did, because I definitely enjoyed driving this thing. Right. What a cool car.
Yeah, super cool.